So thank you all for joining me today. My name is Jessica Worthington. I'm the Director of the Office of Downtown Development with the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, and I appreciate you guys being here with us today for our annual State of the Program webinar. Like I said earlier, traditionally we do this on the GoTo platform, but we really wanted to be able to have engagement with you guys, use the chat, do some polls, have interactions, and really just be able to see your smiling faces and have a good time. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, got my screen shared. And I love this picture because I believe it was this past weekend that they had the Cherry Blossom Festival in Macon. And so I imagine that it just looks this beautiful and is so green and lovely and gorgeous down there. So there we go. All right. So things we're going to cover today, do a little introduction with meeting our team. We're going to talk about our 2023 Georgia Main Street impact, a few assessment takeaways, the 2022 versus the 2023 survey trends. And that's looking at kind of comparing years, year to year. There was a bunch of disaster preparedness questions in the survey this year, if you remember. And so we're going to talk about some of that, what you guys kind of told us, what happened and shared. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up in the future. If you see this little cute little star guy here in the bottom, that means that there's going to be a poll. So with that, we're going to start off with our first poll, our first official poll, not our practice poll. Give me 1 second. Dun, dun, dun. I know, baby. I've got a kitty who's just like on at me. All right. All right, so here's our first official poll for today. What are you looking forward to in, oh no, this is not the right poll. Dang it. All right, just kidding. State of your program. Before we get into the state of our state program, how's the state of your program? How do you feel about the current state of your local Main Street program as we head into 2024? So throw it up there for me. Let me know. Are you feeling optimistic? Kind of mixed feelings about it? Are you deeply concerned about what's going on? Let us know. Give you all a minute. All right, we got 90% participation. I'm going to give you 1 more second. All right, I'm going to end the poll and share the poll. So looks like the majority of us, optimistic, cautiously optimistic even about moving into 2024. It's hard to believe that we are coming up on 4 years or have hit 4 years post-pandemic, right? Since the world changed and everything has evolved, and now we've got a new normal, things that are different. But I would say that our program survived COVID-19 pretty well and fared pretty well, and there was a big resurgence on loving local and what was popular and happening back at home and engaging with our communities. And I think that the data and stuff will reflect that. So, all right. Oh, did I not share the results? There we go. You can see that too. Okay, we're going to continue on. Dun, dun, dun. So, again, my name is Jessica Worthington. I'm the Director of the Office of Downtown Development. I've been with the agency now for 11 years and have been the director since 2015. Still excited to be doing what we do. I love that it's a different job every day. And if y'all have been here a while, you know that I like to change my hair color quite frequently, but the headshot remains the same because otherwise I'd have to take one like every other month. So here you have, I didn't tell the team I was using this photo, but this is the team this past year. We were in Macon and got to see the lovely lights. If you haven't gotten to see the amazing Christmas lights in downtown Macon, let me tell you, you are missing out. But on the left here on the screen, we have Ellen Hill, our Main Street Training and Compliance Coordinator. I know she's waving at you from her screen right now. We've got Elizabeth Elliott, our Downtown Development Historic Preservation Planner. We've got Tess Harper. I'm in the middle. We got Tess Harper, our Communications Coordinator. And then Ebony right there is giving us all the feels and smiles. And she is our Organization Strategic Planning Coordinator. And if y'all know Suzanne, who is in Calhoun, this is her typical pose that she likes to do when she's out and about. And so we were kind of doing this in homage to her. So let's just dive right into it. 2023 impact. So as you guys know, you are always putting in the data for these monthly reports. Ellen's bugging you, making sure you're getting stuff in there on time. If you're not doing it on time, you may be on probation this year. But what do we do with this data? Well, a couple things. One is we give it back to you at the end of the year in the form of a report, which is in everybody's Dropbox as of yesterday. The other thing is we are required to give it to national. So we have to give all these data and statistics to national. National then takes this and puts it together for their statistical purposes. It also just shows what rock stars we are, because I will tell you, I think it was last year, Ellen, when we sent in the numbers and they said, no, we don't need your cumulative numbers for all the years, we just need 1 year. And we were like, no guys, this is 1 year. So we are always making quite an impact. I think I was looking at it recently and it was something like, our programs make up only about 8% of the entire network because the network's growing a little bit, but our impact is something around 20 something percent. So we do a lot. We are very economic development focused. I think you guys, if you've ever met us and talked to us, you would know that we really do prioritize economic development through the context and that lens of historic preservation. And so our numbers typically reflect that. So last year we saw 858 building rehabs, equaling $124 million. This number was down slightly than the previous year, but nothing that was, deeply disturbing or really off kilter. Here's a little bit of a breakdown for how that works. So, this is something new that we added a couple of years ago. Before it was just like, did you have a rehab and how much was the investment amount? And what we've done in the monthly reporting now is we ask you to kind of contextualize what that rehab is. So that way we can track commercial versus residential versus mixed use. And then again, making sure that we're accounting for all the housing components as well. So last year we saw 658 commercial rehabs with an $89 million impact. We saw 172 residential specific rehabs with a $9 million impact. And then we saw 28 mixed use rehab projects with a $26 million impact, which let me tell you, these numbers are great. This is incredible. Definitely something to be proud of. Last year, we saw 669 public improvement projects equaling $67 million. So when we say public improvement projects, again, we're thinking everything from amphitheaters and big projects to even banners and, flowers and all the little things in between. So it can range in size and scope and dollar amount. And there really is no like one size fits all idea for public improvement projects. It's really about like just building capacity and supporting your community, and using, public dollars to do that. Last year, we saw 475 new housing units, equaling $100 million worth of private investment. And this is all happening in downtowns. And so when we talk about new housing units, it's a little bit of everything in between. So it could be single family housing, it could be apartments, it could be condos, it could be lofts, it could be freestanding, single family homes if they're within your designated district that you're counting. Again, it's a little bit of everything in between, but we like to look at the overall comprehensive picture. And these are great numbers, and this is definitely something to be proud of. We saw a little over 1,100 new businesses opening or expanding, creating over 3,300 net new jobs. And again, net means we're looking at what was gained versus what was lost and what's the net balance there. And the total private public investment was $910 million. And if you have been paying attention the past couple of years, we were at 1.3 billion last year, and then the year before was 1.1 billion. So we're really close to making the billion dollar mark this year, but we're off by about 90 million. But I don't want y'all to worry. What this data has told us is that when I went and looked at our numbers, the impact that we had in 2020 was almost dollar for dollar equal to what the impact for 2023 was almost dollar for dollar equal to what was in 2020, which was great, right? Especially considering that 2020 was a little bit of a dumpster fire year for for a lot of our communities. But it does mean that we saw a 30% decrease in impact overall from the previous year. That is a big drop. But I will tell you that some of the investment that was happening in both rehabilitations and purchasing property, we knew it was going to course correct at some point. We knew it was going to scale back a little bit. And so I would say that these numbers are still really great. Definitely something to be proud of. I would say I'm not necessarily worried that we're on a downward spiral or anything like this or anything like that. I feel like this is probably closer to what the new normal will be moving forward. While we had the same amount of public improvement projects, like the same number pretty much from last year to this year, the investment was doubled. So I thought that was really great. And we saw a lot more public investment this year than like a decrease in private investment, but a definite increase in public investment. And honestly, I equate a lot of that to ARPA funding, right? So, there was a huge influx from these ARPA funds that communities needed to use and had to use, there was a lot of options of how this could be used, but we saw a lot of downtown programs using this to invest in infrastructure or upkeep or some of these other things that they needed to do downtown, just to make downtown accessible, friendly, that sort of stuff. So it makes sense to me that our public improvement project dollars would increase. Rehabs are down a little bit, and so is the investment numbers, as in people buying property. But again, for us, that's not really a surprise because, since 2020, when our numbers were 20 and 2021, when our numbers were at the highest as far as people purchasing property, we've seen inflation. That means everything, all your materials and everything that you're buying to rehab your property is more expensive right now, right? So people scale back a little bit, do a little bit less, or do it more piecemeal. And then the other thing is that interest rates have increased, right? So it means to borrow the same amount of money, it's going to cost you more money and you're going to have to pay back more. And so again, with that in mind, it makes sense that people would still be purchasing property, but maybe not as much of it. But I will tell you that our housing numbers still remain high. And as far as like the creation of new housing, in downtown and really show us, like, we keep hearing that downtown housing and housing just in general, right? There's a need for it. And the numbers definitely are showing that. Our job numbers are steady. They're almost exact from year to year, but they're still above the pre-pandemic numbers. So when I go back and look 5 years ago at like 2019 and where we are right now, we are still doing about 1,000 jobs more than we were doing pre-pandemic. So I would say we're still at a really, really good place. And with that being said, it's time for our next poll or quiz. So I'm going to launch it. So after hearing these numbers, which area of the 2023 Georgia Main Street Program's impact do you believe will have the most lasting positive impact on our communities? So let me know. Got about 50% participation, hoping for 90 before I close it. All right, we're at 80, 88. All right, I'm going to share it. End poll, share results. Okay, so it looks like, 46% believe that the increase and the amount of private public investment in our communities is the component that will have the longest, most positive effect on what we're doing. I will say that there's no right answer here, right? All these things will obviously have an impact. They will obviously all contribute to our communities and our overall success in positioning ourselves as a state that is open for business when it comes to small businesses and downtown businesses. But yeah, I agree with you. All right. Next, couple congratulations are in order. So Emily probably noticed this. Other people may not have noticed this, but in our impact numbers, all the pictures were of Macon. And the reason for that is I am just so proud Macon has made it to the semifinals for their Great American Main Street Award. We will find out in Birmingham in May if it's official that I say we, if that Macon, I was like, if we won, if Macon has won, and I just could not be more excited to go. And I think that we stand such a good chance of kicking butt and taking names, and I'm so excited to see what comes of it. But it's a huge accomplishment just to have even gotten this far. So again, congratulations to Newtown, to Emily, to the entire team that has worked so hard over the past several years to make this happen. And you guys are just really rock stars in our state. And keep up the good work. Cannot say enough good things. So congratulations for that. And we're excited, and we will let everybody know. Hopefully some of y'all will be with us in Birmingham in May for the National Main Street Conference. But if you're not, we will make sure to let you know as soon as we hear the results at the award ceremony. And then I also want to say congratulations to Sandersville, who is our newest Classic Main Street program. They have been working on this for the past several years. They have done some incredible stuff, built up capacity, have gotten incredible buy-in from the community as well as the city. And in their presentation, it was just so exciting to hear about the projects that they've been working on and the things that are still coming. And we are so excited to to have them be one of our newest Classic Main Street candidates. Congratulations to Carson for all her hard work. And I know she would say that she does not do this alone, that this is absolutely a team effort. And I completely get that. But we also want to make sure that we're giving her props, because we as managers have all done this before. We know how much hard work goes on behind the scenes of making this happen and making this possible. Elizabeth, I knew you wanted to say something.
And we also, I know only one of them is on the call because I was just checking the participants, but we also have 2 new affiliates that have graduated from the startup level. So Little 5 Points in Atlanta, this is your notification that you now are an affiliate community. Woo! And also Virginia Highlands in Atlanta has graduated from the startup tier to the affiliate status. So congratulations, both of you. You've done so much work. Kelly, I know you're the one on the call, and all the work you've done with Ebony and the community for years upon years, and your leadership is greatly appreciated, and keep up the amazing work. We're really glad to welcome both Virginia Highlands and Little 5 Points as our 2 newest affiliates and our 2 newest graduates from the Atlanta kind of contingent. So we're really, really excited. It's been a long road, but it's definitely been worth it. So congratulations.
And it's super exciting because that means we now have 3 neighborhoods from Atlanta that are part of the network. And so we've got, again, our new additions today, as well as Sweet Auburn, that make up kind of the Atlanta contingency. And I just think it's great to have them be a part of it. I know for them, they look at it as this has been a great, kind of process, and Main Street provides that roadmap. But I think also what it shows is that it really is this flexible approach, right? That this can, be tailored to fit your needs, whether you're a metro Atlanta community neighborhood or whether you're a rural South Georgia, downtown, right? That, this is just something that can be customized and tailored to serve your neighborhood or your community. So in wrapping up everything like impact numbers, annual assessment wise, Ellen wanted me to let you know that as of yesterday, we are done with stuff. Goodness, guys, it's always great to finally hit this point in the year. All of your assessments have been completed. So we do a write-up for every single community, whether you're presenting or not presenting. Those are all in Dropbox. Elizabeth, what folder are they in?
They're in, if you go to Main Street Reports, it is in, you'll see a folder that is the community impact report and the write-up for the assessment. And so they're both in those. And so you just go to your main Dropbox folder, Georgia Main Street Reports, and it's in that folder.
2023. Okay. They're in the 2023 folders.
Yeah. And also we wanted to make sure, and you might have this in the next slide, and I apologize if I'm stealing your thunder, but we just talked about it. So we also have finalized all of your designations with national. And so you probably got an email yesterday notifying you of your kind of accreditation level. For all of our classics and gyms, the national level for what we call classics and gyms is just called accredited. So if you got an email that says, yeah, you're accredited, and you may have had a minor panic attack, you're like, wait, did I change a designation? You still have the same designation with us. National just uses a little bit different terminology. So we wanted to we got a few panicked emails yesterday. So we wanted to just let everybody know on the call that our affiliates says affiliate still, but for classics and gyms, it says just accredited across the board for your national designation. So I just wanted to let you know that.
And they don't need to do anything else, right, Elizabeth? They're good to go. Everything's done as far as the national stuff.
Yes, you are all done. It was funny, we were on a national call and Kathy, our rep, was like, Georgia, great job. You're the only state that has all the everybody has submitted their report. And I was like, wonder why. So there are benefits for us doing it for y'all as well. And so we're like, yeah, they're really, our communities are the best. They're really efficient. So thank you for everything that you've done this year for the accreditation process and every day of the year serving your communities. And so we've put 2023 to bed officially. Woo! So let's continue on to 2024.
Yep. And so you guys should be done. We should be done. Again, you'll have a copy of your annual assessment report in there in your Dropbox in that folder, and as well as your impact report. So again, those are your cumulative numbers that you report to us and we give back to you. look at them. We always talk to the presenting communities and kind of go through those numbers, but if you're a non-presenting community, make sure you're looking at them too. If something looks wrong or something looks off or something looks like it wasn't counted or calculated, please reach out to Ellen. We can update those numbers and that information. But again, you know, you have to let us know that something needs to be tweaked or changed. And Elizabeth, you'll see I had update about the national platform on here. So it was like perfect timing. The other thing I will say, y'all, is that we are actively looking at dates for, you know, coming up maybe June-ish, to do another webinar on what the assessment process is going to look like next year because of this new platform and stuff like that. It's been, you know, a little bit of a learning process for us this year, just trying to, even yesterday we learned something new about it and we're trying to like figure it out and go in there and make tweaks and changes. So we will be teaching you guys that, working with you through that. Again, our goal is to always make it easier on you, not harder on you. Even though national, God love them, they constantly want to challenge us there, right? Pushing us to be creative in the process and how we serve you. But we got y'all's back. Y'all know that. We're going to take care of you, support you through it all. So it's all good stuff. The other thing that is new this year, if you are on probation or if you have been moved down a designation, you will be getting a follow-up email from Ellen and myself, where we will be asking for local acknowledgement. So typically in the past, we've just messaged with, you know, the board and the city and said, hey, you know, here's your report, just making you aware. We're trying to make it a little bit more official now so we can have a record of it. And again, that's really just creating this like communal awareness of like what has transpired, and so that we can make sure that we're being the accountability buddy you need, to help you, you know, resolve any issues that are outstanding. So and you will know at this point if you're on probation or not. So this should not be a surprise to anybody, but if you receive a follow-up email from us, that's what this is about. And the same people who have signed off on your assessment stuff will be the ones who sign off on this as well. So again, it's not designed to be cumbersome, but just, again, more accountability for all sides and all parties. So did a little section called this or that. So 2022 trends versus 2023, just looking at some of the compare and contrast. I will tell you that whenever I start looking at the data, I'm always kind of like, I break it out into different sections and I'm looking at gems and then classics and then affiliates and then everybody, and just really trying to compare where we are. And typically when I do some of the like salary and budget breakdowns, I'll do it for the different manager levels. And I did not do that this year, and I will tell you why. And that reason is because we've had, over the past year or so, a lot of people move up and down designations. And so what I realized is that it's throwing off the data to make it look like there's been decreases, you know. So for example, Macon is one of our newest gems. And so any of the data that they would have typically reported as a classic community is now in the gems level, right? And so again, that change, that shift, and we've had some communities move down to the affiliate level. So any of those kind of shifts and changes will kind of almost give like a false reading, right? So what I did is really looked at all the submissions in their totality, to really be able to compare apples to apples, and knowing that regardless of what designation you were, those averages would, you know, really kind of come out in the wash. So I'm just saying that as a caveat, just so you can understand my thought process. So starting here, have you received a raise or salary increase since the last manager survey was conducted? 2022, we saw about 50% said yes. In 2023, we saw 66%. But one of the biggest changes you'll notice here is that in 2022, about almost a 30% chunk said, no, that's not, I'm not applicable to have done that because I'm a brand new manager. And that piece of the pie decreased significantly in 2023 to about 13%. So that's good. And I will say that trend carries over to what we've seen as far as new managers coming on board, right? So when we look at 2022 numbers and how long have you been a manager in your current community, you see here that really big chunk of blue on the left-hand side, people who had been there less than a year was 32%, right? And we knew that. I made the joke that, oh, the Great Recession or resignation, hadn't hit us. And then it was like, boom, everybody was jumping ship and moving different departments. And we really felt it in our office. We were working with a lot of new people continually. And we know that whenever there's a lot of change and transition, it's hard for the communities, it's hard for us, it's hard for everybody, right? We're all kind of starting from scratch. But 2023 says something a little bit different. We have saw that that less than 1 year percentage has shrunk from 32% to 21%. And that the next section showing that people are sticking around a little bit, the 1 to 2 years, grew 10% from 19% to 29%. You tend to see up here where it's kind of the more longevity folks, that kind of like piece of the pie is really kind of stayed about the same. But also we're seeing some growth here too, as well as people moving from 3 to 5 years to 6 to 10 years. So again, a little bit longer term, people sticking around, which is what we want, I would say that's when you start really seeing some of the good stuff. Once you've been there kind of past that 5-year mark, you've built capacity, you've built your team, you've sorted out some of the drama in the transition, you've made your own processes and procedures, and you really start settling into like some of the things you're trying to accomplish. But this is all really, really good. Next, looking at salaries, comparing from 2022 to 2023. Again, I wanted to look at things overall just because I knew there was movement up and down in designations. So when we averaged it out for all submissions in 2022, the average manager salary was $57,000. And in 2023, that average salary was up $3,000 to $60,000. Again, that matches with the data that we saw as far as people getting increases in pay. And so that's a 6% increase from year over year from last year. But when I went back and did the same thing, looked at the overall submissions from 5 years ago, it's a 24% increase in just the last 5 years. And I will say, I think that, the work we do of really telling our story, showing our impact, talking about the economic development side, the jobs we're creating, the private and public investment we're having, these things make a difference. And that's why we are always harping on you guys to say, make sure you're, sharing your successes, make sure you're telling your story, make sure people understand what you're doing, because so much of it happens behind the scenes. The question of, do you have any support staff? In 2022, we saw 48% said yes. In 2023, we saw 56% yes. When Ellen and I were in Athens doing assessments, both of us kind of made note one day that we had met with several communities, all 5,000 or less, that had multiple staff members. And we were really just kind of had that aha moment of, this really is about communities prioritizing what's important for them and what matters to them, and that it does not necessarily have to do with size. Staffing does not have to necessarily do with size. It really just has to do with priorities. So with that being said, I'm going to throw another little poll or quiz at you. Let's go back. I'm going to launch this, and it's about job satisfaction. So hearing these numbers, talking about support, how does your current salary and the level of support you receive impact your job satisfaction as a Main Street manager? And again, this is just for statistical purposes. It's just for fun. Nobody's going to know your individual response. So please feel free to answer in a way that feels honest to you. So we've got everything from significantly positive all the way down to I feel undervalued. And when we hit about 90%, then I'll show the results. All right, give it one more second. All right, I'm going to end it and share it. So end poll and share the results. All right, so majority of people say significantly positive or somewhat positive, which is great. Obviously, that's what we love to hear. Couple people said neutral, it's not, I'm not thrilled about it, but it's not necessarily detracting from my overall satisfaction. And then a couple people have said somewhat negative or even significantly negative. And I feel you with that. And so what I want to say too is if that's something you want to talk with us individually about, please feel free to reach out to any of our team, because obviously we want you to stick around. We want you to love what you're doing. We want you to be happy with what you're doing. And maybe there's a way we can help support you in that, right? And have a conversation with you and get you to a better place. So please, feel free to reach out to us if you're one of those people that you feel like, you're disappointed after hearing today's stuff. And then what I also want to say too is, there's always that question of like, I want more support. I want more help. How do I do that? So I would say first and foremost, tracking your work, right? And that's, yes, tracking your impact through the monthly reports is important, but tracking your work in the sense of like, how many hours are you spending on different things? And if you are trying to advocate to bring on somebody to support you in a certain area, you need to be able to show why, right? And Ebony and I were talking about something completely different the other day, and she reminded me in a very clever way that if you always just kind of meet that expectation, then sometimes that doesn't demonstrate the need. And I was like, wow, I know that, but I even myself need to be reminded that. And so, I feel like managers were always kind of ingrained to like say yes, help people do things, right? We don't want to disappoint anybody. We always want to like move mountains and make it happen. But sometimes we have to say no. Sometimes we have to say we're at capacity. And in order to get more help, to get more support, we can't be the one woman, one man show doing it all, right? We need to say, God, I'd love to, but I'm already doing this much. I'm already doing X, Y, and Z. The other thing is make sure you're celebrating your wins, because people want to invest and support programs that are being successful. It's just the reality of it. People want to put money into things that are working. So make sure that you're bragging, make sure that you're talking about where your, downtown Main Street dollars are working, show off those facade grants, make sure people are, you're giving credit where credit's due. And again, going back to that say no more often, make sure that you're telling your story effectively, and also learn to prioritize delegation. There are some folks on here that would say that's the hardest thing for me to do. I want to personally do it all. But remember, if you've ever been in our leadership, 5 levels of leadership, we got to get out of the production zone and we got to move into the reproducing area where we're reproducing leaders, right? So instead of just having one Jessica, we want to have 3 or 4 Jessicas that are all working towards the same goal. And while it takes more time and energy and effort to do that, the return on the back end is so much greater than if you just did it all by yourself. So since January, the financial support for our Main Street program has, in 2022, 50% said increased, and we're seeing a little bit more growth again this year since 2023. We saw that jump to 56%. The section that, got smaller was the decrease. So again, budgets have relatively remained the same or increased, which is great, and what we want to see. Sure, that's what you want to see, but it's also what you want to see too. And then this is another slide that I wanted to add in there, because when we talk about diversifying revenue streams, this is a huge component of that. And so on the left, you'll see approximately what percentage of your budget is publicly funded versus 2023 on the right. And I love that we see here the demonstration that the amount of money that we're getting and funding our programs with publicly, and when I say publicly funded, I'm talking about like general fund dollars traditionally, right? So, any kind of public dollars being invested, but we're seeing that shrink. And that's good, because that means you should be getting more support from the private sector or other funding solutions or opportunities. So I think, it will continue the next year for this to be something that we work towards, work on. I would love to see these numbers continue to shift and evolve. But I think we're making, good traction, good progress, and I'm excited to see how this has evolved even just over 1 year. So real quickly, just wrapping it all up, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what's coming up in the future. So we were supposed to be hosting a strategic planning workshop this month. We looked at the numbers and just weren't happy with where they were. We unfortunately had it kind of planned on the same day as the GDA board meeting, and we knew that some people wouldn't be able to do both. And we are working right now to look at dates a little bit later in the year. And we still want to be able to provide this workshop and this training. We just know that we kind of missed the mark a little bit with what we scheduled for March. Second, the National Main Street Conference, again, it's going to be in Birmingham at the beginning of May. Our team will be there. We hope you guys will consider coming too. If you are a student, whether you're a grad student or, getting some other kind of degree, remember that you can actually use that student discount and get a discounted rate to attend the conference. So Jeffrey Fowler reminded me of that. He's in school right now, and I was like, oh my gosh, we need to, talk about that more. So please keep that in mind. We're also excited about the Georgia Downtown Association conference that will be in Thomasville in August. And then we again will be hosting Mobilize Main Street in the fall. And while we are working on the dates right now, we are happy to announce the communities that we will be visiting. So the 3 communities we'll be checking out will be Gainesville, Hartwell, and Dahlonega. And we are just so excited. These guys have so much going on, lots of different stuff going on too. So it'll be, a really great kind of diverse experience. And we're looking at September, October dates right now. I'm just trying to coordinate stuff. When we have that, we will make it available, but this is one of the most popular trainings we do every year. And we are really excited to be going to these communities. All of us on the team have been in these communities this past year. And I just, especially when I was in Gainesville, I was like, oh, Nicole, we are coming here. We so much cool stuff happening. There's no way this is not going to be one of our stops. So I hope you guys are as excited as I am. And that's it for me, but I have one more poll that I want to share with you guys before we go. So let me go back here, and I want to
pulling that up. I'm just going to mention GDI also has the regional meetup coming up, and so I'm going to drop the registration link in the chat. So if you haven't signed up for one, I highly encourage you to sign up for one of the locations near you and go network with some of our lovely peers across the state.
Mm-hmm. And so what I want to hear from you guys is, what are you looking, actually, can I relaunch? Okay. I want to hear what you're looking forward to for 2024 this year. Like Elizabeth said, we've got the regional meetups on here. Those are coming up. I know I only let you choose one here. It's okay. There's no wrong answer. Just whatever you're personally the most excited about. And you notice I added a summer vacation if you're not in the mood to pick any Main Street stuff. Emily, yes.
Yes, I just wanted to say that we're getting really excited for the GDA conference in Thomasville this summer, but also that education proposal applications are going to launch April 1st. So I know Renee is going to send all that email out or send all that information out, but want to be sure everybody had that on their radar.
Awesome. Thank you.
And also remember, this year, your board members have to have 2 additional training hours. That's a new thing from national. So these regional meetups are also a great opportunity for your board members, if they're available, they count for training, they count for those training hours. And so it's a great way that they get to go to another community, get those training hours that are required, get to network, kind of get to talk the talk and meet all the great people that we get to work with on a daily, weekly, yearly basis. And so that regional meetups are going to be a great avenue for that as well.
And I'm going to end this poll and share it. And it looks like we're all excited about going to Thomasville. Woohoo! All right. So we can get into questions. Belinda, yes. What you got?
If we host, which we had in February, a retreat for our boards, do those count as trainings? So retreats, trainings, those don't count.
Ellen, where's Ellen?
So Belinda, I would say board retreats don't count because that is y'all's planning for the year.
Okay.
It's a work session. It's not a training. So what we want to see for the board is something that they're learning, some, a webinar. We have all of our YouTube stuff up. They can go to, of course, the regional meetups like we just talked about. Any of our trainings would count. Visits to other communities. If you didn't just want to do a regional meetup or everybody couldn't go and you wanted to go to like the neighboring community, that would certainly count. Just make sure you're tracking everything. And if you
So like when we did the roadmap to board excellence, that training that she did before we went into the retreat part, that won't count. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I don't know what that entailed. So just let's shoot it over to me. Yeah, we can talk about it offline, Belinda, and you can send it over to me and kind of let me see what she did, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Ellen, thank you for the reminder. If you are going to Birmingham, we do have a conference shirt that Ellen has created and designed for us. So if you want to order one, the last day to order is April 7th, and she threw the link in the chat. And the way it works is you order your size, you pay for it, and we will meet you at the conference with your shirt ready to go. And yes, Miranda, 2 hours per board member annually. And I will say too, that there was new legislation approved this year. It hasn't officially been signed by the governor yet. So anything is always up for, debate until that point, but it did pass both houses that Downtown Development Authority members will be required to get 2 hours of continuing education training at least once every 2 years. And if they don't, their voting powers can be revoked. This is a new bill that was introduced this year and again, made it through both houses. So this is not just, the new training kind of requirements is not just something for Main Street. This is something that's going to apply kind of for everybody statewide. So, I don't think, getting continuing ed stuff is ever a bad idea, but it's just something to keep in mind.
So I just want to be clear. So they have to take the 101 Main Street. And what else? What is the other class they have to take? 101 Main Street, and what else?
So if you're a DDA, they have to have DDA 101. If you're a Main Street board, you have to have Main Street 101. Now those count towards your 2 hours. So it's not 2 hours in addition to if they're doing those first year requirements. It's once they've been on the board a year. So once that year passes, then the 2 hours pops in. So if you're a DDA, it's DDA 101, Main Street 101. And then if you're just a Main Street board, it's just Main Street 101. If that makes sense to you, Ginger.
Ellen, can you do me a favor? Can you just send me an email?
Yes, ma'am.
That'd be perfect. Then I'll have it and I'll print it out because I have all new board members this year.
Okay.
And I
Yeah,
want to
so
make sure.
yeah, your guys would be Main Street 101. You're DDA too, so DDA 101. And then they wouldn't have to worry about the 2 additional hours until the next year. I'll
Okay.
send you an email.
Perfect.
And
Thank you so much.
and for those people who are asking, I just dropped a link in there that takes you to the legislative website that will show you what the bill was that just passed and how it applies to downtown development authorities. So you can check it out. Again, it still has to be signed by the governor, but I don't necessarily see why it wouldn't be. Andy?
This is just a reminder that the state conference that we do every year through GDA counts towards all of those training hours for you and your board members. And the education committee is getting ready to send out a survey to the membership about what training topics you would like to see. So our goal is that the submissions this year that we get, we will try to align them with what membership wants to see. So if you have something in mind specifically that your board needs to learn about, please let us know in this survey so that we can kind of tailor the education to what the needs are.
Absolutely. And those regional meetups too, we count those as training as well. So if you or any of your board members are attending the GDA regional meetups, those can count towards your training hours for both you and board members. Cassidy, what's going on?
Hey, so while we're all together, I'll give a little plug also for CDP classes that are coming up. I know Renee just put something in the chat, but there are some CDP classes coming up in June in Atlanta. We just had some a couple weeks ago in Brunswick. So I think Renee just put in the chat, these can also count towards your training hours and your board members can take them too. So check out the Georgia Downtown website for all of the criteria of that program. It was just launched again last year. So it'd be really cool if we could all get that certification.
Absolutely. And I've heard some great things about some of the classes, people just having really great takeaways and stuff like that. So thank you, Cassidy. That was a great reminder. All right. Well, I don't want to keep y'all unless you have more questions for me, but I appreciate y'all. I appreciate everything y'all do. I feel like we're in a good place as a state with our programs, and I'm excited about the year ahead and what's coming, and I hope y'all are too. But our team will stick around if you guys have any questions for us one-on-one. Other than that, have a great day, have a great month, have a great Easter coming up, and we will see you soon.